By the 30th of October 1918, the Austro-Hungarian Empire had absolutely capitulated. Ever since the idea of the dual monarchy started in 1848, unfortunately now, 70 years later, it would all come to an end. Sources are linked down in the description to this video, and this is the Treaty of Trianon. Not exactly the worst treaty of World War I, but definitely the most controversial, definitely by modern times and standards. Let's begin. Like most nations in World War I, Austro-Hungary was no different by 1918. Millions had died and had millions of casualties. The Austro-Hungarian leadership was absolutely appalling during World War I, and Hungary, well, the dual monarchy was very much to blame. Many Hungarians, however, somewhat lucky during the war, as the two languages spoken by the army were German and Hungarian. So if you were Hungarian, you'll be able to see what they were on about. However, take a look at this map just here. There weren't just Hungarians within the Hungarian territory, there were Czechs, Slovaks, Polish, Ukrainians, Russians, Jewish people, Slovenians, Croatians, and even one or two Bosnians who were within the Hungarian territory portion of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And following World War I, on the 4th of June 1920, at the Treaty of Trianon, they lost 70% of their land and 65% of their population. In terms of percentages, that is by far the worst loss in proportion of land and proportion of the population compared to any country. Generally 10% of land compares to nothing to this. The Treaty of Sèvres, which I made in this video, which you can watch if you want. Treaty of Sèvres, Sèvres, anyway, that video on screen you just saw. Again, nothing compared to the land actually lost in terms of proportions. In terms of proportions, Hungary, 70% of the land, 65% of the population. It's absolutely terrible on the 4th of June 1920 as a result of this. Had a small stint of communism, but eventually, in 1920, the Kingdom of Hungary was established, which will continue on until 1946. Why Hungary was punished so severely in World War I remains relatively unclear by modern historians. Of course, on one hand, the French, and particularly the British, wanted, of course, all Central powers totally defeated and unable to rearm. Following World War I, Hungary was no different. Restricted armed forces, no navy, and limitations on economics, had to pay reparations. So there was definitely that side of the conflict. They wanted them completely and utterly punished. And also there was a big drive throughout British, French, and even American politicians that they wanted Austro-Hungary completely and utterly abolished, and the monarchy there could never be restored. And in the day, it was Franz Ferdinand who was shot in Sarajevo. So Austro-Hungary definitely a very main contender for why World War I happened in the first place. If Austro-Hungary was never there, Gavrilo Princip never had any of those Serbian nationalistic tendencies. If Austro-Hungary was never there in the first place, which is why the Allied forces wanted Austro-Hungary punished so severely. Not to mention, again, there is also another counterpoint that with so much borders now gone to other territories, not only could Britain and France now deter Austro-Hungary militarily, but so could Czechoslovakia, Poland, and well, now of course after Russia's own civil war, the USSR and Yugoslavia, the new kingdom created. So again, and then again in the 1920s, the French formed a little entente with Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and Romania to deter Austro-Hungarian and German aggression. So it was just about driving home that idea of Austro-Hungary was now completely and utterly defeated. However, it is of course pretty controversial losing that much land in your people. Even today, many Hungarians do wish to reunite some of their territory, particularly, recently it's like the Yugoslav War of the 1990s. There was an opportunity there for the Hungarians to get some more territory back. But of course, this never ever happened. Georges Clemenceau, the French politician again, he made sure it didn't happen, and Austro-Hungary was completely and utterly divided, and the Treaty of Trianon did occur. So in summary, Treaty of Trianon saw Austro-Hungary lose 70% of territory and 65% of the population, and that is a high proportion out of any country in World War I. Millions were killed, many casualties were lost, and ultimately the reparations made it clear that Hungary would never ever rise to the country it was back then. Even today, Hungary is by far more than 10 places behind economically than it used to be in the world's economy in 1918, just before World War I ended. Same with their population, they've lost a fair proportion to this day. They haven't quite been able to get back in terms of proportions. And that is the Treaty of Trianon, the most controversial treaty of World War I. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next YouTube video. Goodbye.